My name is Selena Knight, and I'm an instructional tech coach over on the north side. I cover Vanston, Shands, and Lawrence.
And I'm Leanne Hooper. I'm on the Poteet feeder. I have Kimbrough, Austin, and Beasley.
So this session is about performance tasks. And one of the things that we like to do is, as we talk about content, is also give you some ideas for modeling what it could look like with distance learning. The first session that we did a while ago, we ran more like it would be an asynchronous learning experience. So you could create this playlist and send it to your kids in Google Classroom and tell them they're going to work through it at their own pace. And we've given them some suggested timeframes there, and they're going to work through that. They have everything they need, and we would be there to answer questions or check in. This time, we're going to run it a little more as if we might be doing this in a synchronous learning setting. And so we're going to kind of, at those time suggestion marks, those are the times where we're going to kind of come back in, because your kids might need a little more guidance and assistance. Your kids may not be ready to kind of take on a 30-minute block of learning independently on their own. They might need you to kind of help them along, or at least scaffold that and model. This is how we go through this and pace yourself and still stay on task and engaged. Okay. So the performance tasks, part of what we wanted you to be able to do is in this table, the first section of this, we want to give you just a couple of minutes. You can choose, okay, to remind yourself about what are performance tasks? What are the goals for performance tasks? Creating and exploring the various ways that we can have a performance task and what they are. There's a quick article you could read if you prefer to learn that way. In the middle, there's more of a visual that you can get some bullet points as a reminder, or you can watch a quick video over here. So we're going to give you about 3 minutes to do your method of choice with how you want to refresh your memory for that up at the top. If you're just joining us, Leanne has put in our chat the link to our playlist that we're working from. Okay. Okay, so if you guys can kind of come back together with me, if you've moved away from our performance tasks checklist or our playlist, you should have kind of had those reminders that basically what sorry, tab clicking is a thing. The performance tasks, they require some kind of application, not simply recall. They're going to be open-ended, they're novel and authentic, they're something that provide an evidence of understanding, and they're multifaceted, and require the kid to apply what they've learned and integrate multiple contents or skills. Okay. Usually there's a rubric associated with it, because with the performance task, you shouldn't be getting a cookie cutter response back from your children. It's something that they apply in a unique way. And so a quick formative assessment we've built in to kind of check, well, what was your understanding right now of what are performance tasks. So this next one on here, it's yellow. And if you noticed at the bottom, you might not have, but anything that's white is going to be opportunities we've given you to have choice and learn on your own. Anything in yellow is something that we expect you to participate in and answer a question for. And so that's a good clue for your students just to know, hey, at minimum, I better go do at least those things. So on this one where it has an answer garden, if you will click on that, it's going to pull up. This is just a word cloud. It's nothing fancy, but what it does is this allows us to see everybody's responses. And it's going to ask you, what is your impression after you had your quick learning opportunity of what is a performance task? A performance task is, give us your one word answer. And we can kind of see it works like many of the other word clouds. The general consensus and kind of is it's evidence of learning. It's like, how do we know they understand it and can apply it? And then, of course, application, and it's authentic. And I think that that part right there is where we start to have more wins with students being engaged with what they're doing. When we ask them to show us their learning in a way that matters and is authentic, then we get different responses from them. Okay, so we're going to come back over. Thank you for participating in that with us. And the next section of time you notice is white, and you have 10 minutes. This is a larger chunk of time. So a couple of things up here at the top, the performance task examples and product options. If you look through here, there's some articles that you can link to and look at if that's how you want to kind of go in. Over on the left, when you click this inquiry and research project models, resources, and books, this is going to pull up a slideshow. And at the top, you'll notice that it links to this is the inquiry and research projects that are actually in the TEKS for our lower grades for our elementary. But before you blow that off and say it's elementary, it doesn't apply. Take a look at it, especially if you're an ELA teacher, because you'll notice that the verbiage on here and what they create, a lot of them are very cross curricular. A lot of them could be taken in with very slight modifications, could absolutely be a performance task that you expect your seniors to do or your high school students to do. So this will link there and you can get ideas. The other slide, these are from the module review, the modules that we looked at this summer in your learning. There were several of those that you had an opportunity to explore. If you wanted to look at a different one, now is a good chance. And there's also, and people, you may have some on your campus. Your instructional tech coach may have these books. You can buy them or borrow them. But these are some books that we found that help us and give examples of some different performance tasks. So Empowered, Launch, or the PBL Playbook. So you can take a second and go through that. But over on the right, there's also some other resources that you can look at. So this is your chance to kind of look at some examples, get some ideas that you're going to be sharing. You're going to be developing an idea that you will share. So your goal is to look at those and have an idea to share when we go to our collaborative document. So you have 10 minutes. If you have this open, we've provided a nifty little link. You can click on the 10 minutes and it'll automatically start a 10-minute timer for you so that you can make sure that if you have jumped off of this tab to not be distracted, you know when to come back. Another thing I'm going to mention is Leanne and I are going to stay on here as your teachers because we wouldn't leave the room when we gave you this assignment. So we're going to stay with you and we're here to answer questions. You are free to unmute and ask us a question. But if you don't want to hear us talking to someone else because that distracts you, if you will move your mouse and on the tab at the top that has the Meet, if you hit Control and click, or if you right click, you can mute this site. So if you've turned students loose to go create something or do something or record, and you don't want them to be interrupted by your voice, you can click on that and mute us. Just know that you will need to unmute us when we come back together. Okay. And feel free. You also have a way to raise your hand in the left-hand corner. There's a little nod reaction. If you don't have it, it's an extension. The students all have it. You can raise your hand or simply unmute. Okay. So we're going to give you 10 minutes from now, and I'll be quiet and turn you loose to explore. Which one, Leanne?
They were asking about a timer.
Oh, got you. It's,
If you wanted to
sorry.
show like which one you used.
Yep. Literally, you go to the Google tab and you say 10-minute timer, and you copy the link from the very top. And if I wanted a 14-minute timer, I would say 14-minute timer in the URL bar and copy the link at the top. The cool thing is, as soon as they click it, it starts that countdown for them. But they do have to click it. So, and I can show you, I mean, but literally, it's like I want a 26-minute timer. As soon as I hit enter, it starts. So you just grab this link right here and hyperlink it. I wouldn't put that whole big link. You just put the word timer, highlight it, click the little chain link, and paste this behind the scenes. It's nothing fancy, but it's functional. Mary, feel free to unmute and you can ask me your question. I see that you've raised your hand.
Yeah, I'm sorry. How to mute the chatting
Okay.
again, please?
If you take and you're probably, if I remember correctly, high school teachers have PCs. If you're on a PC, if you will use your mouse at the top, the Meet tab that has the red circle, that's the one you're hearing us talk on. And so if you will right click on top of the tab, right next to the red circle, right click, it's going to give you an option when you look on that menu that pops up to mute the site. And so you can click mute site and you won't hear us talking anymore. When we come back at 10:35, you'll just have to go back to that, right click again and say unmute the site.
Okay, thank you. I'm using the Chromebook, so I don't have
Okay,
this.
same
this-
option. On a
yeah,
Chromebook, what you do is hold down the control button and
Okay.
then click your mouse on top of the tab. It pops up that same menu. So control click on a Chromebook.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. So yeah, for your students, if you're telling them, control click. So remember that you should be developing an idea that in about 3 minutes, you're going to be able to document for us on our collaborative spreadsheet. So formulate your idea of what is a performance task that you have an idea for your content that is a priority TEK you want students to demonstrate learning. Think about that because you're going to be sharing that with us on a collaborative spreadsheet in about 2 minutes. Okay, if you could go ahead, I'm going to put in the chat to unmute. If you're muted, you don't hear me say that, but return to the playlist with us. We're going to come back together. Leanne had the same idea. We're going to come back for just a second and look at now our next activity that we're going to do together. On the next section, this is where I'm going to have you share your learning. And we would love to see your faces. So if you could turn your camera back on now that you're back with us so that we can see your face, that's lovely. Thank you. So the next section of this is how we're going to actually go to the collaborative spreadsheet that's linked here. And you'll notice that we used this collaborative spreadsheet with other campuses. Leanne had used this with a separate campus as well. So it's truly a collaborative document that we're getting ideas and learning from one another. If you will open that link for the next 5 minutes, I'd like you to take that idea that you formulated when you were exploring and that TEK that you came up with and what performance task ideal you have, and go ahead and at the bottom, you'll see separate tabs for content area. If you'll click on the content area tab that is applicable to you, and go ahead and fill in a row that has your information that you came up with. And notice that at the end of this, there's a feed forward or questions from your peers. If you are looking at something there and want to know more about it, or you have ideas for them or questions for them, use that column that you can give them some feedback. Okay, so go ahead and do that. I'll give you until 10:40 to do that. One of the things that you can do, if you notice, because it asks for their name, um, if you know that that person's whole name, if you want to, in the comment section or in the feed forward section, if you want to tag it so that you make sure that they answer it or they get an email for it, if you come here and if I wanted to make sure to say something to Leanne, I can tell it insert comment. And over here, if I put the @ sign and I start typing her name, it's going to populate right here, put her name there, and I'm going to say, what do you mean here? So if I do it this way and I tag her and say comment, it's going to give them it's going to give her an email notification. That's the same for students as well, provided that your students actually check their email. The adults do. So this is a good way. I could also even notice this box right here. I could assign that. If I click this, it's going to say, hey, this is an activity that's been assigned to that person. So I could say, if she's my student, Leanne, you need to go back and elaborate, or you need to go show me evidence or text evidence, and I can say assign. So just an FYI when you're working in a spreadsheet. Okay. One of the things that I can also tell, I can tell that right now I have 29 viewers and I have 46 people in class, right? So as a teacher, I can tell that not everybody's with me. And that's something that, I'm only pointing this out because it's a way for you to have accountability and track. And it's like, hey, you know what? Of my 29 viewers up here, I don't see, Miss Morris. Miss Morris, are you having trouble getting on our document with us? And it's a way for me to politely check in to see why are they not with us, right? Because I can see who's in my class here, and I can see over here. I don't know if she's actually on there or not. Let's see. There you go. And there may be a good reason. She may be having technical difficulties that I need to help her work through. She might
I'm
have
here.
yes. She might have gotten distracted by somebody needing something from her at that moment.
But I'm here.
You are. Thank you for being here. We'll give you about 1 more minute to kind of put that there. But also, this is available to you if you've made a copy of our playlist. You can have that link to come back to this living document to get ideas, to add other ideas. You have access to it again. Okay, we're going to go to the last section here. And we're going to look at our reflection. And what we're going to do, cross our fingers here, we have a Jamboard that is linked to the reflection. Jamboard's a Google product that you can send just like anything else through Google Classroom. You can send a view only, everybody edits and everybody's collaborating like this one is, or I could send this to where every student gets their own copy to show me some evidence of learning in different ways. Leanne linked it there in the chat for you. If it tells you there's too many people, it's because people from the last session maybe didn't close out. But as they close out, you'll have room, or you can type your answer in the chat for us if you need to. In a classroom, there's about a 50-person limit per Jamboard, so you might want to do 1 per class if you're doing a collaborative one. So the first slide here, you'll notice that it says you just experienced a playlist that we kind of did a little bit of teacher paced with. How does this differ from a traditional classroom? And especially with distance learning, what are some of those things? Over on the left in Jamboard, if you've never used it, if you click the sticky note, it's going to pop up a box you can type in, and when you hit enter, it'll drop one, but it will drop it on top of someone else's. So you might have to move it away from the place that it automatically drops it, because you'll see the little stack. There's also a pin. So if I had dropped a piece of text I wanted them to annotate, something I wanted them to label, a math problem I wanted them to work out and show me their work, they could click the pin and write right on top of that. Okay, look at all of it. I love it. I see all of y'all's answers coming up. The second slide of this up at the top, another cool thing is you could have multiple pages that you're working on and have different stimulus on each one. So the second page of this, if you've already done your first one, if you'll go to the second page, this is just dropping something that you've learned. What's something you learned today that might be helpful for you to remember and use with your students? Students could also drop pictures. So if you had them do a performance task and you want them to take a picture of that, they could drop their pictures here for us. Look at that. Thank you for whoever. Look, somebody on here is after my own heart, organizing those down there in a straight line. Thank you. I love it. Is that you, Leanne?
No, that wasn't me. But I
No.
do like that I saw several that
Yeah.
said this can be both synchronous and asynchronous.
Yes.
And what I wish we would have done is recorded the first session because it was more asynchronous, and this
Yeah.
session was a little more synchronous, self-paced. Although we did stay on that first session, they were able to go through it more on their own pace.
One of the things I notice as you guys are moving this and stuff, what a great way. It's like having kids start to group and categorize things. You can color code the stickies. So if you have a protocol or something that you're using, it's a great way to just have an easy, very simple collaborative space that you're working with. Okay.
And we could add more slides as well. We'll probably need to do that for our next session. So you could
Yeah, it takes about 2 seconds because what I can do is up there at the top, I just have to say duplicate. And then I have an additional one. Now, it probably carried over all of y'all's stuff, and so we'll have to clean it up. But all right, so for the very last thing on our playlist today, at the bottom, and you feel free to continue to do your reflections if you're still doing that. But at the bottom, there's a session sign-in and a feedback form. So that is just kind of a sign-in so that you get credit for being here and that we can get a little bit of feedback from you as well. And those are shared with your administrators for the campus. So we appreciate you being here. And if you have questions or want assistance creating something like this or structuring something, your instructional technology coach is happy to help you and work with you. You can reach out to us as well. You have a new instructional tech coach, Brittany Miller, this year. And so she's there and will help y'all.